The rectangular coordinate system, the basics, and I mean the very basics. This is also known as the XY plane or the Cartesian coordinate system. It is named after French philosopher, mathematician, and scientist René Descartes. So the Cartesian coordinate system is what it is often called. The horizontal axis is called the x-axis. Notice that's this axis right here. Okay, the one horizontal there, that's the x-axis. The y-axis is the vertical axis. That's this one. And I just have my grid drawn up here, all right, with all my intersecting points, like you can see exactly where 1, 2 would be and that kind of thing. All right, so ordered pairs are in the form x comma y. I just said 1, 2, so 1 will be the x and 2 will be the y, right? We generally call them points, okay? So the origin is the point 0, 0, and it is where the x-axis and the y-axis intersect, right here, okay? Y-axis, x-axis intersect at the origin, okay? The origin is the point 0, 0. And then the rectangular coordinate system is divided into quadrants. And we start with the upper right quadrant, quadrant 1, and then we go quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4, right? So those are our 4 quadrants, okay? So that will be something, if you move beyond algebra and take trigonometry, that will be a huge concept and thing in trigonometry, those quadrants and that sort of thing, all right? This video will briefly introduce plotting ordered pairs on the rectangular coordinate system. Right? Something that many of you know how to do, but before we talk about graphing lines or graphing parabolas or anything else, we need to make sure we understand an ordered pair and how to put it on a grid and that kind of thing. So, and I hope that if you need help with this, that this helps you out with doing just that. So first, within which quadrant does each point lie? Okay? So we have quadrants, and I want to know, hey, where is this? It's in quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So I want to remind myself real quickly. I'm going to come over here and say this was Q1, this was Q2, this was Q3, and this is Q4. Okay? And we typically use Roman numerals for that. And so the other part of this is quadrant 1 is to the right and up. Well, to the right is a positive X, and up is a positive Y. So if both values, the X and the Y, both parts of the ordered pair are positive, it is in quadrant 1. So if it's in quadrant 2, you're to the left, and the left on the X is negative, and then it's up. So that's X is negative and Y is positive. So the first value is negative and the second value is positive for the second quadrant. The third quadrant is left and down. They're both negative. So first quadrant, both positive. Third quadrant, both negative. And then the fourth quadrant, the X is positive. That's to the right. And it's down. So that's going to be negative on the Y. So positive, negative is quadrant 4. So now that we know that, let me go through there and just mark that. Let me say that. Here's going to be positive, positive. And we said this one was negative, negative, right? And this one was negative, positive. And this one was positive, negative, right? So that helps us maybe see kind of what's going on there. X is positive, Y is positive for quadrant 1, so on and so forth. So here, this point is negative 1, 5. So negative comes first, negative 1, 5, and then 5 is positive. That's going to be which quadrant? That is quadrant 2. That is quadrant 2. All right? And then what about the next one? 4, 2. They're both positive, right? And if you want to, you could say plus, plus if you wanted to. And that is quadrant 1, right? And over here, I guess with the red, I could have done that. I could have said, hey, wait a minute, this is negative, positive, and we said that was quadrant 2. All right, so then what about the next one here? The next one is going to be negative, negative, which is quadrant 3. And then finally, positive, negative, which is quadrant 4. Now, just because I ask you 4 of them doesn't mean they have to be in one in each quadrant, but I did that just to give you an example of each one. So, again, that's just what quadrant do they lie in. We're not graphing. We're not trying to figure that out. We're just putting that there, all right? So, give the coordinates of the ordered pairs A through D. So, A through D, if you notice, are already on the grid here. And I just want you to fill in X and Y for each one of them, all right? And then plot the ordered pairs E through H. So, over here, I give you the ordered pairs, and I want you to put them on the grid over here, all right? So, let's go through and then do those things. And again, this is very basic, but it's a good introduction if you need some refresher on it, or if you maybe it's something you've forgotten how to do. And so this is a good refresher in helping you plot points, because again, if you can't plot a point, you can't graph a line, right? Or graph a parabola, or graph anything, a circle, whatever you're trying to graph on a grid. So this is hopefully a good refresher for you, or getting you a good solid base here. So for A, the point A, remember the ordered pair is what? All my ordered pairs are in the order x comma y. So if I talk about A, this is my x-axis. A comes down here and hits the x-axis right there. What is that point on the x-axis? Well, this is 0, and then we go -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, right? So this is -1. So what I want to do is I want to say, look, if I don't put any on me, you want to make sure you understand this for your teacher if you have a different instructor, professor, teacher, okay? For me, if I don't label the grid, you can assume it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't do 10, 20, 30, or 2, 4, 6, 8, or anything like that. If I want it to be 5, 10, 15, 20, I'll label it. The first line 5, the second line 10, so on and so on. So you can assume that each one of these lines on my grid represents 1 unit if I don't label it, okay? So here, this is going to be -1 for the x. And then what about the y? It comes across and hits the y-axis here. Well, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So that's going to be 4 on the y-axis. So -1 comma 4. All right? And a lot of times students will get those confused and backwards. That's why I want to go over this here, right? Make sure we get the x first, go down to the negative. You know, I know a y-axis is up and down, but this crosses the x-axis at -1 and the y-axis at 4. Okay? So -1 comma 4 is point A. All right, so point B. Let's look at B. Where does it cross the x-axis? Well, it's on the x-axis at 1, 2, 3, right? It's on there at 3, so it's 3. And then how far up and down? If we go back to the y-axis, that's right at the origin, which is 0, right? Both values are 0 at the origin, the x and the y. So that goes right across, boom, it's 0 on the x. It's not up or down any. So 3 comma 0 for point B. Nope, wrong one. What about point C? Well, the x-axis, if we come over here, that's going to be what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's what kind of 5? -5 because it's to the left. And then it's up or down how far? Well, come back across here, and that's -1, isn't it? That's -1. So -5, -1. And that meshes with what we said about quadrants, right? If we look at C, C is in the third quadrant, and it is negative and negative. They're both negative. A is in the second quadrant. Second quadrant is a -x and a +y. It meshes with it, right? So all these things go hand in hand, right? And they work together. And it makes sense. So what about D? D's in the fourth quadrant, so it should be what? Positive and negative. So let's look at it. Where does it cross the x-axis? Well, the same thing place that B did, which is 1, 2, 3, right? So it crosses it, not crosses at 3, it's at x equals 3. What about the y value? Well, it's down here, which is -1, -2, -3. So it's -3. So 3 comma -3 for the point D. D is the point 3 comma -3 of the ordered pair, 3 for the x, -3 for the y. It's very important that x comes first and the y comes second. All right? It's why it's called an ordered pair, because the order matters. Okay? If it was just a pair, then it wouldn't matter, but it's ordered pair, so the order matters. So E, we're going to plot E over here in orange. So I'll underline this in orange here, and we'll say, okay, let's plot E over here in orange. So -3 comma 2. So on the x-axis we go 1, 2, 3, -3. And on the y-axis we go 1, 2. And it's where those 2 points intersect, right here. Okay, it's where those two, not points, those 2 lines intersect. Okay, so we come to x is -3, y is 2, and where do they intersect? This point right here. So let me erase all this extra stuff, and then I'm going to come back over and make sure I get the right spot here. And that is going to be E. And then F, 0, -2. So right and left we go 0, and then we go down 2. So I don't go anywhere right and left, and I go down 2. So it's going to be right there. Okay? I don't go anywhere right and left, so I stay right here, this line, and then -2, where those two intersect. I wrote an extra line there. This one here, 0 and -2, and it's this point right here. All right, so that is the point F. And then G, 4, 5. So 4 let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's this point right here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one right here. So it's this point up here. Okay, so that point up there. So I got myself in a lot of extra stuff here. All right, so 4, 5 was up here. We said. All right, we went 4 this way, and then 5 this way, and it's where they intersected up there, right? So that is the point G. And then finally the point H. The point H, -2, -4. Now, tell me, we looked at G and everybody goes, oh, G is in the first quadrant. And so, by the way, we say that B, like B and F, they're not in a quadrant. They're on the axis, okay? We call those intercepts. If that was on a line or a graph, B would be an x-intercept because it crosses the x-axis, right? If there was a line attached to that, that would be where it crossed it, okay? F would be what? A y-intercept if it was on some sort of graph, okay? So, but it does, that point intercepts or intersects or is on the axis, okay? So, but H, we look at H and it's both negative. We say, oh, it's got to be in the third quadrant. Well, why? Well, where's X is -2? So 1, 2. So it's this line here. And then -4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This line here, and where they intersect is down here. So -2, -4 down here. And that is the point H. All right, -2 on the X and -4 on the Y. So again, quick review of this. Hopefully it's something you got down pat, but if you needed it for whatever reason, then here it was for you, and hopefully it helped you out some, so that and helped you out a lot actually, so that when you get to graphing lines or whatever it is you're trying to graph, that you can get these and know you're doing those things right. All right.